Few moments later.
I'll give you anything you want from me. Anything you want, anything you need, anything you so desire.
Hi everyone, my name is Amina. Go ahead and subscribe and go ahead and like. Go ahead and do it. Today we're going to be talking about Apple computers. So I did a previous video on the Windows and the things that you need to know and when picking out your computer, whether it was the processor, the memory, or the
Few moments later.
storage space. So Apple is a little bit different, especially now. So prior to, Apple used to use Intel processors as far as like i3, i5, i7, but Apple has now come out with its own chip, its own processor that they are calling the M1 processor and so on. So we'll get into that. So processing wise, the M1 processor is going to technically go M1, M2, M1 Pro, M1 Max. And I'll explain a little bit more as to why the closer we get to the memory section. But as far as the processor goes, it's going to be the M1, M2, M1 Pro, M1 Max. So as far as the Airs go, that's when you'll still have the M1 and technically the M2. Now the M2 is technically 35% faster than the M1, and then I want to say as far as graphics, it's 16 to 18% faster depending on what we're using it for. But in general, M2 is going to be faster than the M1. So the next step up you're going to have is the M1 Pro, and then after that the M1 Max. The M1 Max is only as of right now found in like the Studio or the 16-inch of the MacBook Pros. Again, kind of just depending on what we're using it for. If we're just using it for maybe browsing online, studying, then the M1 has got you covered. If you kind of do a little bit more, you do a little bit more multitasking, you do a little bit more in general, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max technically are still the step up from the M2, not only because those tend to come with more memory, but also just because processing power wise, they are just a step up. So keep in mind that is the brains of our computer that's telling everything what it needs to do, and it's putting everything in its place and letting it know, hey, follow instructions. All right,
You got it, dude.
in the words of no. Yeah. So again, if we're not doing it for much, the Airs are going to have the M1 and the M2 chip. Everyday work, browsing online, checking emails, paying bills, doing some homework, studying, typing up papers. In general, the Air has got you covered, whether it's the M1 or the M2. The M2, like I said, technically is faster, so I would probably lean towards the M2 over the M1. If you're kind of just getting started with Apple, this is your entry-level computer, then go for an Air. Next, we have the M2, which is in the Airs, of course. It's also in the Pros. Now we have the Pros, the 13, the 14, and the 16. So the M1 and M2 is still available in the 13.3 Pro, the one that has the touch bar. That one, technically, I would say if you start planning on using software, you are getting into video editing, maybe you do some Photoshop here and there, it's for business, maybe home business, that type of thing, then I definitely would opt for the 13 Air. But if we are doing some heavy duty stuff, or we just want to future-proof ourselves, or we just don't want to have to worry about anything slowing down, that's when I would lean towards the 14 and the 16, because not only do they come with more memory, but they are more powerful. We are moving away from the touch bar. They have more ports. We're being a little bit more practical in general. So yeah. So the second thing when we are picking out our Apple computer is our memory / RAM. So again, if we don't do a lot of multitasking, then I would lean towards the Air. The Air is going to have 8 for the memory. As the Pros go, the Pros have 8 or 16 for the memory. Now if we're going for the Studio, which is a little bit different because it's a desktop, you can still find 32 or 64 for the memory. So again, last time we spoke, we said things are going to go 8, 12, 16, maybe 32, maybe 34. Apple's like, we're not playing with the games. We're going to give you what you need. You need 8, you need 16, you need 32, or you need 64. We're not going to give you any in-betweens. We're not going to have, no. That's it.
Surprise.
So again, if we're going with the Airs, you've got the option of 8 and 8. If you're going with the Pros, if it's kind of the entry-level Pro M1, M2, you've got 8. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Now once we move towards the 14 and the 16, we have 16, and then again when we get to the higher, heavier computers that tend to be desktops, that's when we have our 32 and our 64. Apple's pretty clean cut. This is what you need.
You're welcome.
So So then of course we have our storage space. It's going to be pretty practical. Last time we said they're going to start at 128. Again, Apple's not going to play with you. We're going to start at 256 if it's an entry level MacBook Air. From there you do have the options 512, usually a terabyte. I want to say if you go through Apple, sometimes you can get up a little bit more, but for the most part 256, 512, 1 terabyte. Again, Apple definitely does want you to pay for cloud storage, but they're not going to play with you. This is what you need. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
It's giving Sadie, #awkward. You're welcome. So again, keep in mind we have our Airs, and then we have our Pros, and then of course we have the Mac Mini, which is our entry-level desktop, and then we have the Studio, which is our beefed up, super strong superhero. Whatever you need. And so yeah, that's essentially what we have when it goes to Apple. I know when I went through Windows, I kind of did it separately, but again, Apple's not going to play with you. It's clean, cut, precise. This is what you need depending on what you're using it for. If it is more so heavy duty work, again, we're going to lean towards the Pro. We're going to lean towards the Studio. If it's everyday use, then of course we're going to lean towards the Air, or we're going to get that Mac Mini if we want it in desktop form, if it's going to be stationary. And yeah, so I may do another one on the iPads, but as far as Apple goes, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. What are you using it for? Air or Pro? We chilling, we getting to it. Nah, hopefully that helped. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment and I can kind of go in depth. Oh, I only use it for X, Y, and Z. Like, for real, go ahead and ask. I'll let you know. Again, my name is Amina, and that is all you really need to know when picking out your Apple computer. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe because I would really appreciate it. Ask questions. Ask questions. We love questions. We love to, if I don't know, I will find out and let you know. Okay? Yeah. Okay. All right.